You're going to want me to sound really clever, aren't you? I don't know. It's pretty. I know what it is for me, but so I'll just tell my story. Alexa, what is 1,957 plus 26?
1,957 plus 26 is 1,983.
1983. Okay, I'm ready. Yeah. Hello, my name is Joe Average. I'm an artist living in Vancouver, British Columbia, and I have been HIV positive since 1983, over 40 years ago. So when I moved to Vancouver in 1983, I'd been living in Toronto and Montreal. So when I got here, I knew people here, and I asked a friend if they had a good doctor, because I needed to, hook up with a doctor, have a GP. And he told me about this fellow named Brian Willoughby, a gay doctor. I thought, oh, that's good. Okay. So when I saw him, and he said, we're asking all gay men for blood samples. We're just screening for HIV. It's a voluntary. It's not a mandatory thing. It's just a voluntary thing. I said, sure. And so he said, come back in a week and we'll go over the results. So I went back in a week. I sat down, and he rolled his chair up to me. I went, oh, fuck. And then he put his hand on my knee, and I went, okay, here it goes. He says, you've been diagnosed HIV positive. And the first thing I said was, how long do I have? And he said, we don't know. It is so early in the game. You could last 6 months. You could last 6 years. You could last forever. I said, yep, that's the one. I'll take that one. Dibs on that one, I said. And so I didn't have any infections or anything then. It was just my blood work showed that I was HIV positive. I was doing okay. So 3 years went along, and I was still doing fine. And one day someone came up to me and said, Joe, are you okay? And I said, why? He said, you're so skinny. And I hadn't noticed, but I'd lost about 20 or 30 pounds. People, you're a gay man and you didn't notice? Trust me, I'm not gay enough. So sure enough, I had full-blown AIDS. I had opportunistic infections, and I had AIDS. And there was nothing. And then we got AZT and the broad-spectrum antibiotic, which I started immediately. And hesitantly, because everybody I knew who was on AZT were just dying like flies, So, but I did what I was told, and I did it. And one thing I did too was I quit drinking, because I want to be able to differentiate between alcohol and the AIDS. You know what I mean? So I thought, be responsible, just quit the drinking. And I haven't had a drink since. One thing that I noticed that a lot of my peers were doing was they were immersing their whole lives in HIV and AIDS once they got diagnosed. Like everything had to be about HIV. Everything had to be about AIDS, and they had to read everything, and they had to do everything about it. And they were all just dying. And I thought, it's like telling your brain it's okay to die. That's just how I thought. If I give myself too much information about HIV/AIDS, it'll give my brain the key to turn it on and say, okay, you can go now. I just had that kind of suspicion in my head, and I thought, don't make your life isn't HIV. You are you, and stay that way. Focus on you, not HIV, because the ones that were focusing on HIV were dying. So I don't know if they all were, but In those days, that's what it looked like in my eye. So, and there was no rule books and no one. You so when I was told, the full blown age and okay, now you have 6 months probably. I said to myself, okay, how do I want to spend this last 6 months on the planet Earth? How do I want to do this? What would make me happy? And at the time, I was on unemployment insurance, which in those days was a very demeaning process of going for interviews, and you had to have signed things from places you've gone to and prove that you looked for work. And I was so weak, I couldn't go. So I just thought, well, I can't do that no more. So I thought, you need a reason to live. And at that time, I just didn't even care about living. So with 6 months left to live, I thought, okay, how do I want to do this? Um, Now, the only thing that I ever got attention for were the doodles in my sketchbook. I was that little loner boy that sat in the back booth in the coffee shop with a cup of black coffee and a plate of French fries and gravy and a notebook and my pen and paper. Well, paper was in the notebook. Anyway, so that's the only thing I ever got any attention for. So I thought, well, let's do a bunch of those and pin them on the wall and try and make some money and see if that works. What's the worst that could happen? You're going to die? So I already had the anvil of death hanging over me, so I kind of had free reign to do anything. It was an opportunity. I know it seems weird. You get 6 months left to live as a diagnosis, but it was an opportunity for me to um, get myself in order, like because I was just flailing and faking it my whole way through. I mean, I was a dyslexic boy. You didn't know he was dyslexic. You just thought he was stupid and didn't think he could do anything right, and just knew that everyone thought he was weird, and I just hid a lot. Um, so I started doing some drawings, and I pinned them up on my wall, and I called on my friends and made little Xerox little posters, put them up on telephone poles, and had a one-night show in my little apartment in the West End. And lots of people came, and I sold out the show in one night. I went, oh, it works. Yes. So that gave me a little bit of confidence uh, in that I was kind of heading on the right path. And somebody said to me, have you ever donated to the Hadassah Bazaar? I'd never even heard. What's that? So they explained to me, and so I donated a piece to the Hadassah Bazaar, and it sold. It made money for this organization. Now, I was one of those little boys that loved watching telethons, weirdly. I loved watching a little banner going at the bottom of the street. Mr. and Mrs. Smith just donated $100. Mr. Johnson just donated $200. I so wanted to help people out, but I didn't have any money when I was a kid. But this was the equivalent for me, given art and helping people with money. It was like, oh, my dreams are coming true. It's my version of the banner, right? So word got around that I was good for hitting up for um, donations for charities and stuff like that. And win-win for me. I get to help people, plus I get my name to spread around, and that's how my name got known. And then a few reviews in the paper here and there, and all of a sudden, Joe Average doesn't sound like a weird name anymore. It's somebody that we know now. And oh, he's HIV positive. So that's one thing I did too with my HIV was I thought I have the attention of the press now, and I'm HIV positive, and the city seems to really like me. So let's just let it out and try and break the stigma down. And so that's something I'm really proud of. Is they dubbed me the HIV positive artist. I thought it was just the stupidest thing ever, but I let it happen because it introduced me, and it broke a barrier down. So I did something good with that, and that made me feel good. So there I was, breaking down a few barriers or changing a few minds, helping a few people out with donations, and supporting myself with the thing that's supposed to kill me. So I turned it all around, and it's been 40. So I think I did something right. I mean, I never wanted to have my art and my health, but I did consciously do two pieces about HIV. Um, well, I guess three pieces. I was asked by the 11th, the um, the organizers of the 11th International Conference on AIDS to design an image for the conference. Now, they asked me 2 years before the conference so that they could advertise it in the year earlier conference, which I think was in Seoul, Korea or something. So I painted the One World, One Hope image, which went on the poster, and then that went around the world a year before the conference was here. And so that piece literally went around the world. I always say that's the one who put me on the map. I mean, I did a piece called My Thinking Cap / Life with HIV. And it's just a person's head, man's head, me, um, with my skull sort of sectioned off like cuts of beef. Like, you know how there's in the butchers, it has this part's the rump, this part's the belly. So I had it kind of blocked off in sections: love, hope, um, sex, drugs, timers, all the things that I keep in my head to stay alive. And my nose was the new was AZT, 3TC, and DDI. That was taped on my face, and just and the other one was oh, I did do another one. Um, this series of doodles that I did. It was one sort of so hard to explain. I just let my hand go on the page and do this sort of organic shape. I had three pieces of paper, and I did it again, but I made it slightly bigger. And I did it again, and I made it even more bigger and a little bit more detailed, right? So it was like this organic shape just growing. And as it grew, it got patterns and parts where lines overlapped and stuff like that. And I called the triptych My Immune System Getting Stronger. I thought, draw it and it will happen. Ta-da! So I did that piece. And what was the other piece that I did? Oh, I had it right in my head. Oh, when the first cocktail came out, I did Ray of Hope, which is a hand holding the first cocktail with just lights, rays, looking like an Asian poster. I did. I didn't want to just gloss it over. I mean, my art was basically to make people happy and forget about their life and problems. Didn't want to push my problems on them. It's not what my intention. My just art is to make people happy and smile and forget about their problems for a few minutes and just go to a new corner of their brain they hadn't gone to before or something. But I did realize that it would be responsible of me to do a couple of pieces acknowledging this because, hell, it's what gave me my start. I did recently a a local news station during Gay Awareness Month or whatever the hell it's called. This, whatever it was one of those months, and the news station called me up and said, "Hey, we're doing a lunch and learn." I said, "What's a lunch and learn?" It's sort of like the human library things that I do. They get to, it's a voluntary thing for staff at the news station. And it's getting to know people in the neighborhood of different cultures and stuff, so they get a feel of what their community is, so they can report the news more, I guess, intelligently, whatever. Anyway, but one of them said, "Do you have any questions for us?" And I went, "Yes." I said, "Hold on a second, let me pull up my soapbox." And I said, "Here's my problem: is HIV is on the rise again, um, and I blame you." And I pointed right at the camera, and they went, and I said, "You guys have been so irresponsible. There's no news about everyone, because you're not talking about AIDS, everyone thinks it's over. Everyone's going on, just having normal sex, and it's coming back again. So I'm blaming you guys. You have been so irresponsible with the news. It's your fault." I didn't know it was going to work. You know, I was just faking it the whole time. I was just following my gut. Now, I didn't know if my gut was right or not, because I still didn't have any self-confidence. But all I had was a little intuition. So I just stumbled around with that, and I'm on drugs. I'm like, I'm side effects. Some more brutal than anything you could ever imagine. Oh my God, I've been through some brutal ones. Should I start talking about those? I don't think so. That's not what we're talking about.